One of the aspects of BPD is chronic depression or a feeling of chronic sadness. This can be due to various triggers that make us arrive in this place and state of depression and chronic sadness. It's also a very difficult aspect to manage when these overwhelming emotions of sadness, depression, grief take over, and it feels like it completely takes over. It can be hard to want to be here, and it's far too easy to spiral within these thoughts. But there are ways to cope and to help. Sometimes the sadness and overwhelming depression can almost feel soothing in a sick way, but this is generally because this is a place of comfort for us. This is what we know and what we're used to. As comforting as it can feel at times, it can be equally as destructive, as we're all quite well aware of. And we can't stay there forever, and it all really comes down to regulation. And I think viewing things realistically but still with hope is the best way that it helps me. It's not thinking that, okay, now that I've done these strategies, the feelings will go away forever and I'm going to be happy forever. You have to think of it more like we're a river, we're flowing, we're moving, we're forever changing. Just like our moods, it moves, it flows, it changes very frequently. I can also easily get into those mind frames where it truly feels like a permanent state of being. But it's important to remember and remind yourself that it's not. Trying to bring ourselves back to a baseline or back to a place of neutrality truly is the goal. The goal is to try to bring us to a place where we feel more neutral, calm, and at a place where there's hope. But it can be hard to feel happy or even feel good when it's very difficult to even reach that baseline. Reframing in our minds that instead of being so angry with our brains and furthering the depressive episode or prolonged sadness, usually being our own harshest critic, it's time for us to take a different approach. We have to try to become friends with our brain and understand it. Be kind and compassionate with yourself. These defense mechanisms, like getting into these depressive episodes, are a way that our brain has been designed to protect us. Even if these reactions don't necessarily feel like we're being protected. We did not consciously choose this or choose to have BPD. I don't think anyone would choose to have or live with this. But this is the brain that we have, and we have to try to work with it, not against it. So after all of that, here are a few things that I do to regulate. Most importantly is to get creative. I promise you, if you have BPD or if you're neurodivergent, you have a creative, beautiful mind. You have vast amounts of ideas and information and imagination. Don't ignore that side of you or shut it out. Feed it. Even if you feel you aren't creative or if you've been shamed or embarrassed in the past for your creative expression, reopen and revive that exiled part of you. Bring it back to life. BPD brains are different. We know this from data and brain scans. We think very differently. We come with solutions differently. Everything's processed very differently. And this can translate into the most beautiful, amazing, creative expressions. Whether it's painting, drawing, dancing, singing, whatever your form is, do it. Get after it. Even if you're crying, you're mad, you're sad, you feel like you can't move. Dedicate a bit of time to reviving that side of you, even if it's something new that you've never tried before. You need to get lost in the creative, not letting yourself get lost in the sea of the BPD brain. Reconnect with nature and go for a walk outside, but obviously listen to your body and rest when necessary, but just remember that motion is important. Spend more time with your dog or pet if you have one. You can play with them, sing with them, talk to them. The best thing about pets and dogs is that they don't judge and they love you unconditionally, so you can totally be yourself and get comfort and support from them. Remind yourself of the small, beautiful things. Even things like the sunset each night, that's something I take note of and comment on and appreciate. Try to find the beauty around you. Take a few minutes and look at the clouds, look at the shapes they make, and point out what you see. Just remind yourself that life can be beautiful and interesting, no matter how dull, dark, and boring it may feel. Dealing with chronic depression, chronic sadness within BPD is not easy. And these things I've mentioned aren't necessarily just going to fix how you're feeling. But these things can help regulate and bring ourselves back more to a baseline and a state of neutrality, which is a lot better, safer, and healthier. And I know this is a long one, but I wanted to finish off with saying that people with BPD are genuinely some of the most caring, loving, empathetic people that you'll meet. There's a lot of bias and misinformation and negativity against people with BPD when truly we are so loving and we just want to feel that in return. You are worthy, beautiful, and deserving of a happy life. It may be harder for us, but we can reach it and feel it too.